Hi everyone, it's Amy here from the blog I Think Therefore I Teach. I wanted to create a support video to make sure that you are revising in the right way. Now, this one I've specifically linked to criminology, but you can apply it across any subject. So it works for RS, it could work for any subject you have an exam in. So this is designed to make sure that your revision is as it should be in order for you to be successful. Revision takes an awful long time to do as far as the skills that you have to embed to be able to do it properly. So let's see if you're actually doing it properly, and hopefully this will help. Right. Whoops. How to revise properly then. What I'd like you to first of all do, I'd like you to pause this video while you do it. I would like you to draw the McDonald's sign. What colours would you use? If you can't do the McDonald's, do the apple sign. Don't look at your phones. So draw the McDonald's sign. Pause it if you're doing this. If you've already done it, how accurate is your picture? Give yourself a mark out of 10. When I do this PowerPoint with my students, I then get them to look at each other's, I get them to see how accurate they are, and usually students are pretty accurate. And so then I ask them why. Why can you draw the McDonald's sign practically perfectly? And they talk about how it's made simple. It's simple, it's clear. They also talk about how they pretty much go every single week to McDonald's. So it's something that is repetitive. It's repeated part of their life, that they've seen it for a long time, that it's something that keeps cropping up in their lives. All of these things are key to how you make revision work. I then got them to do this challenge, and again I would like you to give it a go. In a second I'm going to show you I think 8 or 10 different pictures. They're going to come up all in one go. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to memorise them. 15 seconds to memorise them in any way you would like. You can write them down, you can stare at them, you can do whatever you want, but you have 15 seconds to remember them. Go. Now write them down, so there are 10. Write them down. How many of those images can you now remember? I'll say them out loud if you don't want to write them down. Can you remember all 10? At this stage, what I then get my students to do is I get them to say who got 10 out of 10. And then I ask them, how did you get 10 out of 10? How did you remember them all? How did you get 10 out of 10? Who got 9 out of 10, who got 8 out of 10, etc. And I asked them what process they did. So let's go back to the pictures. And some of the students come up with very ingenious ways. They make stories. Some students make stories up about them. Some students have linked them into what words that trees and cheese sound quite similar. I think beans, cheese and trees, a student said, sounded similar. And people say things like you cycle through the country and see foxes. They talked about how you've got the British flag and Paris are both places and things like that. So there's lots of different ways that you might have put in place to help you revise or memorise these. That's exactly the process you're doing with your information in class. There is no difference in how you get your brain to remember things. And also the thing is that you sat and looked at it for 15 seconds. That process is very important. You looked at the same thing, you concentrated on the same thing for 15 seconds. You then also wrote it down. That again is the process that I'm going to emphasise to you is key when you revise. So let's keep going. How did you remember them and what do you do? What did you do when you saw the images? Don't say panic. Top tips then. Quite a lot of topics to cover. Again, I've done this for criminology, this works for religious studies as well, and obviously most A levels and BTEC, some BTECs have exams now, the T levels. If you have psychology, English, all of these have lots of topics. Don't leave it too late. It's never too early to start revising. You can start revising from the first day of your course. It's never too late. So don't leave it too late. It's never too early to start. Make a revision plan. Day by day, leading up to your exams, what are you going to do when? Make it realistic. Don't cover too much in one go. Keep it simple. And give yourself catch-up days. Days if you get behind or a friend rings up last minute and says, oh, do you fancy going to McDonald's? And you go, oh, go on then. Don't deprive yourself, but think about, right, I'll catch that up instead on Friday instead. I then get my students to write down one hobby or skill they are good at. How have they become good at it? Have they always been good at it? If yes, why? And if no, how did they become good at it? And then I get them to share. So don't be all coy and humble and say you're not good at anything. There will be something that you are good at. There will be something that you are better at than others. And so write that down. And how did you become good at it? So my students share the different things. It could be sports things. It's often things like baking or sewing as well. And I ask them, you know, how long have you been good at, how did you become good at it? And they talk about practice. They talk about how when they make mistakes, they find out how to improve it. They talk about how they have feedback about things and they have lessons on how to become better, that they've maybe been doing it for years and years, that their parents help them or that they do it with their friends or whatever it might be. And again, this is like revision. A skill is something you have learned. Revision is something you have learned. And so the same things. How do you become good at revision? The exact same things need to be in place as to how you became good at your hobby or skill. So the example I always give my students is I'm quite good at paddleboarding. I really like paddleboarding. I went to it immediately. This wasn't something I had to really learn. I was just good at it. The first time I ever went out on a paddleboard, a few friends, they were doing some kind of cliff jumping or something like that, and I was left on this paddleboard and I just thought, oh, I'll just stand up and have a little paddle around. Unbeknownst to me, that's easy, you know, that's easier said than done. Unbeknownst to me, that's quite hard. I got up on that paddleboard, no issues and problems, paddled away quite happily. And so I was good at it straight away, but from there I have also practiced. You know, I like to go out as often as I can, which isn't that often, but I like to go out as often as I can. I watch videos on it, I learn the different tricks and things you can do. I have done a forward roll on a paddleboard before. I've done Pilates on a paddleboard. So the different things that you can do. And so I've also become better at it because I've practiced, I've given it more time. Whereas for me, I'm one of those people that I'm either really good at something and therefore continue it, or I'm terrible. Archery. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I went on a friend's hen do years ago. And we went to a place near where I live called Dalby Forest, and there is one of those like go-away outdoor adventure things. And one of the activities was archery. And so all my friends were all having a go, and they were pretty successful. You know, they were hitting the target. I did not have a clue. I could not do it for the life of me. I could not hold the bow and arrow correctly. Every time I shot, you know, I let go, it either like it flopped, or I think I even hit a squirrel at one point. Could I get it on that target? No, I went everywhere other than where it was meant to go. I mean, I looked the part, you know, I was all Robin Hood out with a green polo neck, etc. So I looked the part, but I was dreadful. Have I ever gone back to it again? No. You cannot do to revision what I did with archery. Just if at first you do not succeed, do not give up. Try something different. So please do not give up on your revision. If it's not working, you have to find another way to make it work. And this video once more will help you. Revision techniques then, you already know all of these. This is nothing new to you. Posters, so coverall posters, PowerPoints, cards and Quizlets, loads online. You could write lists, you could be tested by a parent, a friend, you could test yourself, so read the work, cover it over, how much can you remember, practice essays, get your teachers to mark them, things like that. So you know the revision techniques. The question is, are they working for you. So the experiment, don't leave it too late. With times of day, you need to work out, are you an early bird or a night owl? When do you do most of your work? I am not an early bird, I work better on an evening. So I would know that if I was a student, I'd work better on an evening revising. Do you need peace and quiet or music? Research has shown that if you revise to music, it is not as good. I do not advise you revise to music. I do not advise you revise with the TV on or the radio on. Why? Because you are then having another stimuli that's distracting you. Music, you start singing along or the tune gets in your head. If you do want to listen to music with no words. Listen to classical music. So you probably go, oh no, I don't listen to classical music. So don't listen to any music. It is being shown that the students that work without music and the students that work with music, the ones that do it without, learn far more. So the question I pose to my students is, would you rather revise in an hour with music or half an hour without? You'll gain the same amount. My answer would be, I'd rather do it half an hour in peace and quiet than an hour with music. You need to test which is best. What can you remember under the different conditions? Set yourself time limits for revision, 30 minutes, then stop for a break. Make sure you go back after your break though. So you need to give your time, you know how long your attention is. So you need to give yourself time limits and rest breaks. Give yourself also rewards to look forward to, tea breaks, telly, relaxation time with friends. You know, for me, I like baths. I enjoy baths very much. So, or going out with friends. When I was revising, you know, going out with my friends was a big thing when I was at college. And so I would say, right, I'm going to revise for 3 hours. I'm going to cover these areas. I'm going to have short breaks here, here, and here. And then I'm going to go out at 6:30 and have a really nice time with my friends. And so that's how you do it. Have something to look forward to. Have something at the end of the revision. Have something there that you're going to look forward to doing once you have succeeded in doing the revision you wanted to cover. This is all about control and restraint. You have to be restrained when you're revising. You have to just get on with it. So let's give it a go. Now, this is designed for criminology, but this technique works for all subjects, and it's a technique I swear by. Give it a go. So, I got my students to find their notes on Lombroso and Sheldon. This is from Unit 2 of the criminology course. Lombroso and Sheldon, we might have also covered them in psychology. Find any bit of topic that you want to revise. Give yourself 10 minutes to memorise that information. 10 minutes to revise that information however you would like. I do the same in religious studies as well. You could write notes, you could test the person next to you, you could just read through it, you could highlight it, you could rewrite it, do anything. Anything you want, 10 minutes, revise that section. This is then the key. What I call a blank sheet summary. Have a blank sheet of paper in front of you and time yourself 5 minutes without your notes, 5 minutes, write down every single thing you can remember from that 10 minutes of revising. What that does is it sees how much of that, what you've been revising, has gone into here. So 5 minutes, write down everything you can remember. Then, how much have you remembered? Go back and check your notes. What have you forgotten? Add in a different colour what you missed out. Do it in a different colour because again it connects with a different part of your brain. So what have you then forgotten to add in? Take another 5-10 minutes, add in the gaps, write down the gaps again. All of this is repetition, repetition, repetition. Memorise, blank sheet, fill in gaps. You're revising it already in 3 different ways and you've maybe only been doing this for 20 minutes. So this at this point is probably far more than you've ever revised a section previously. Now go back and add in the details you've missed. At that point I assumed if there was any questions about what they were doing, any problems. Then do some sort of quiz, do a test. Get somebody to test you on what you have just learned. I do key knowledge tests with my students, but there's also lots of Quizlets and things like that. Or before you do that section, you know, maybe do this with a friend or someone else in your class. They write one quiz for you, you write one quiz for them. There are quizzes for RS on the blog, so check those out. But give it a go. How much from a test then can you actually now recall? This is the number one for revision. So number one, stage one is the revision process. 10 minutes of revision. 2, 3, 4 and 6 is then you testing it, you checking it, you going over it, you repeating it. So you've got 3 repeat processes there on one bit of information. Blank sheet summary, how much can you remember? Fill in the gaps, go back over your notes, what have you forgotten? Quiz test yourself, how much can you now remember overall? I will absolutely guarantee you this will work. Why? Because most students read the work, I've got it, move on. That does not work. You have to test it more than you revise it. There are 3 tests here. There are 3 tests of that information, etc., etc., 3 going over that information. This will work. It takes time. I'm under no illusion of that. It takes time and it's harder, but it will work. Final points then. Revision is hard and boring. It is one of the worst things I remember from doing at college. I remember playing cards a lot when I was at college back in the day, I'm showing my age, and revising. I remember revising a lot. You will not be able to do this immediately as it takes training, brain training. You are training your brain to learn things. You have to train your brain to memorise. You have to come up with strategies and ways to learn and then repeat, repeat, repeat. Revision and brain training is ongoing. So this shows the curve, the forgetting curve it's called. You will know 100% of it when you are learning it. 7 days later, you will have forgotten nearly all of it. You will remember about 10% in 7 days. Unless you go up and remember it, up and remember it, up and remember it. You have to keep going over the same things over and over again. Repetition is key. For me, when I was a student, and I had 4 A levels to revise for, and they were all exams, so there was a lot to revise for. I used to take my dog for a walk, and I used to wear a scarf because I used to mumble along to myself, and I didn't want my neighbours to think I was crackers. And I used to read a topic before I went for a dog walk, and then I used to take my dog for a walk, and I used to then in my head go through everything I could remember from what I just read, and I went over all the sheets, all the topics, all the materials, and then I'd go back home and I would check, what have I forgotten, what did I miss off, let me write that down again, and then the next dog walk I'd do exactly the same again and try and remember them missing bits, and then I'd introduce another topic, and then I would do that topic, go for a dog walk, how much have I forgotten, go back, fill in those gaps, next dog walk, do that one again. The dog walk after, go back to the first topic again, how much can I remember? So that was my process. It was very repetitive, but it worked. It got the things in my mind and I learnt it. Another analogy that I often give to my students is a number of years ago, I had a student and it was about 2 or 3 weeks before the exam, and he was really panicking. He was finding it really, really hard, and he was just saying, it's just not working, it's not going in, I can't learn this, it's not my revision, I can't do this exam, etc. And I said, well, you can, and you're going to do what you can do in the time you've got left it quite last minute, 3 weeks is not a long time, and I tried to help him understand about revision and the process of revision. And I'd noticed this student had increased in his size quite drastically over the 2 years that I'd taught him, very, very muscular, etc. And I said to him, oh, you've clearly been working out really hard. And he was like, oh yeah, I go to the gym at least 4 times a week. And I said, oh, what does that involve? He was like, oh, I do legs on a Monday and arms on a Tuesday, or whatever it was. And we talked about this, and I said, oh, how long have you been doing it for? Oh, about 18 months now. And I said, how often do you, how long do you go for each time at the gym? And we talked about this, and I said, do you know what the largest muscle is in your body? Is your brain. You have to treat your brain like you treat your body. You go to the gym 4 times a week, spend at least an hour, you rotate the different things that you are doing. That is how you need to revise with your brain. You need to revise every single day. Not a lot, could be just half an hour, could be 10 minutes. You have to do something nearly every single day. You need to go back over the same things again and again. You can't just work on your legs one day and hope that they stay like that. You need to repeat that process. You also need to introduce new things or change the way that you do things in order to keep that process going. So if you do legs, if you did the same repeated exercise all the time, it would then it wouldn't make any improvements. You have to change it up. Revision is exactly the same. So revision is like, for me, going to the gym. You've got to do it. You have to keep doing it for it to have any improvement. Revision is the same for your brain. Remember, you have the summer holidays to look forward to at the end. This was my little bit of pep lift up. Putting the effort in now will pay off and you'll feel proud that you did your best. Hard work reaps the rewards. And then you can relax and unwind. So that was my nice little, cherry on the top of quite a kind of a realisation that revision is hard work. So sorry if you've watched this video thinking I was going to give you a really easy way to revise and that it would all be fine. No, revision takes time. It's hard. It will work if you do it in the right way though, which is the way that I've explained. Give it a go. If you have any comments or any things that you do that really work, pop them in the comments below. If you have tried this out and you find it works much better, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, give me a thumbs up if you have found this useful. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any videos. Good luck with your revision. Good luck with your exams. And I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye for now.